Good morning, everybody. I'm Eureka John, and you're at Eureka Street Crypto, broadcasting from Leander, Texas. It is February 3rd, 2022, and it's 10:14 in the morning. I've already done this morning. Around 7:30, and I did this same episode I'm trying to do yesterday, and the audio cut out halfway. Today, kids barged in, and because everybody's home today. Texas, or at least Austin, is frozen over. So school's out. I wasn't able to drive into work today, so I'm kind of working from home and doing what I do. And a lot of things are closed. This is my crypto morning video blog. I try to do this. I don't do it every day anymore, but I try to do it as often as possible. I've been doing this since October 24th, 2020. And it's my brain dump, man. It's basically all it is. It's just me documenting my journey through this crypto space, and there's a lot to talk about all the time. And I've made some really good calls. I've made some terrible calls. I've explored some really cool protocols and concepts, and some total terrible crap coins and stuff like that. I've had people interviewed on here. I've talked about all types of stuff, man. This has been really fun. One of the best things. I've learned a lot about audio-visual production as well. Anyway, let's take a look at the market here. Bitcoin seems to be following Austin weather. I don't know, or Austin weather's following Bitcoin. I don't know. The past couple weeks, Bitcoin has been not in a really good place, or the crypto market in general. So I'll just say not Bitcoin, but the crypto market has not been in a good place. And a lot of people are freaking out. A lot of people getting leveraged people getting liquidated and stuff like that. Then we had like 2 good days, over the weekend and stuff. And it was sun shining and beautiful. And same thing with the crypto market. And then, let's see. Yesterday started out pretty good. And then right around in the afternoon, things started to tank again, and Bitcoin dropped from, I believe, 39,000 or 38, high 38s down to low 36. So it dropped like $3,000 or $4,000 just right there, just immediately, just straight down. And then now it's kind of just settling there for a little bit. But so did the weather yesterday. Right around in the afternoon, early evening, it just went terrible, and things started icing over and raining and stuff like that. So I don't know, man. I don't know which one's following which, the Austin weather or the cryptocurrency market. You ask me. Anyway, let's look at Bitcoin now. There's really not a whole lot green right now. Tezos is green. Let's see. Quant always kind of runs contrary to the market. It's kind of been a little bit of a hedge for me. Anyway, whatever. I stick to my big mains: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Theta, and Chainlink, and then I have a bunch of little small stashes and a bunch of other projects. But anyway, that's what I'm here to talk about, I guess. Cryptocurrency has its risks. It has its scams. It has its shady elements. And I acknowledge that. I tend to always, look at the amazing Web 3.0 revolution and paradigm shift that's happening right now, and I have rose-colored glasses and a little bit of a Pollyanna attitude towards everything happening right now, without acknowledging properly a lot of the risks and a lot of the scuzzy, shady, just slimy elements that are in this space. And there are, decentralization is great. However, it can slow things down quite a bit. So you sacrifice speed for security. And also, there are a lot of anonymous people in the crypto space and in the crypto Twitter. They hide behind profile pics. They go by names such as 0x or whatever, just crazy names, Larry254, and you don't know who these people are. And then you join DAOs in the crypto space, decentralized autonomous organizations. And a lot of those are in Discord, and you get to know these people, and you have community calls and working groups, and you build products and projects together. You build podcast. I've built podcasts together with completely anonymous people. I don't know their name. I don't know what they look like. I don't know where they live. I don't know who they are or whatever. And over time, you kind of, through daily conversations in these DAOs, pick up little things about bits and pieces of people, or they might just straight up end up just telling you privately, who they are, what they do, little personal things in their life, and you get into conversations with it. And that's just, part of being human. There's the whole idea of decentralized IDs and reputation systems trying to be developed right now to be able to do uncollateralized loans with anonymous Twitter and crypto Twitter and MetaMask wallets and stuff like that. But so it's kind of like a catch-22. It's a really amazing thing to be anonymous and to be able to work without people knowing who you are. Maybe you're super famous and wealthy, and people don't act the same around you if they wouldn't act the same around if they knew who you were, or if they knew you were extremely rich or whatever. Or maybe you're somebody that's like, just starting out, or just an amateur at something, or don't have any type of reputation or whatsoever, or poor, or just some nobody, and you get to join a DAO and get to be able to hang around a lot of these people who have a lot of experience. For instance, I've gotten to jump in DAOs and learn from people in the audiovisual, in the movie, in the film industry and stuff like that. A lot of their tricks of their trade, without knowing really who they are. They don't know who I am, but they're willing to share their skills because it helps Web3 and the crypto space develop. And I get to learn from people like that who normally would never have given me the time of day. And that is another amazing thing about being anonymous in the crypto space. Now, I'm not really anonymous. Of course, Eureka John, you see my face. I dox myself where I live in Austin, Texas and stuff like that. But I don't really, you don't know. Anybody can always find something on somebody. I don't really care that much, but other people do, and it's fine. But what happens whenever you jump into a DAO and you get involved in a project and you build something, you build a decentralized finance protocol, an infrastructure, that starts to draw in a lot of money and a lot of people wanting to participate in that. And what if there ends up being several hundred million, maybe even $1 billion locked up into that protocol? And what if you aren't just co-found, but you found 3 different protocols like that with somebody, right? And this other person is totally anonymous, and you are working, and sometimes you might stay up late at night on a Discord open working channel, with sharing your screens together, just talking and coding and, working out processes and workflows and talking about life and laughing together, maybe having a few beers or whatever if you drink, and just like spending time working together with that person. It's just like somebody at work, you don't really have anything in common with that person at work, but you end up, they becoming your work buddy, and you like them. So what happens if that person turns out to be a longtime criminal, a multiple felon, a money launderer, somebody who has been in the space for a long time and been to prison, and then also has partnered up in the past with people who have gotten into some really dark stuff, and then what if you discover that? And then what if you have hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars of other people's money on the line, and if they find out that you're partnered up with this other person, you're in serious trouble, and so what do you do? How do you break the news? Is this something that you just want to announce, or is it something you want to keep under wraps? Has that person changed? You've had a lot of conversations and stayed up with them at night and worked on these projects. You know the person's work ethic, and you laugh with them, and you toil with them to build these projects, and they seem like a good person. And you don't know or even care what they've done in the past. You don't want to know. But it somehow comes out. And what do you do in that situation? You spent months working with this person, then it comes out and you find out somehow that they are this other previous villain. And you're like, no, dude, like this guy? No. Oh, man, really? Oh, shoot. So you think about it and you keep on, it's in the back of your mind, but you keep on working on this project with this person, trying to figure out how to approach this. So this is what this episode, I guess, now after being in it for 10 minutes is about. It just so happens there's a spell token. So let's look at the price of the spell token. The spell token is one of these ohm forks, and ohm is DeFi 2.0, the whole idea of protocol owned liquidity. It's an amazing idea. But there's been a lot of forks and stuff that are promising things like 82,000 APY of interest and stuff like that, which is unsustainable. Um, Not immutable X. How did I get immutable X up on here? So the spell token, there's three protocols owned by, well, co-founded, not owned, because they're all part of DAOs, and but the main central actor that has built these three protocols is Daniele Sesta, Danny Sesta, and he has built Abracadabra.money, which is the spell token, Wonderland.finance, which is the time token, and Popsicle Finance, which is the ice token. Now, they've all three followed along pretty much the same pattern, but they are all three kind of in the dirt right now because a lot of people started selling off their own tokens. They made the money, and they left the protocol. And the DeFi 2.0, the protocol on liquidity and everything like that, didn't quite work, I guess, the way that they thought it would. I could make an entire other episode about Ohm and why that is dipping out right now. I think in the end run, Olympus and the Ohm token will be okay. But this has been the start and the experiment of protocol owned liquidity. Protocol owned liquidity is an amazing idea to help rug pulls, but people are getting rug pulled on it anyway. But the idea of protocol owned liquidity is a great idea, and I do see that idea being developed more. But in the interim, there has been a lot of these forks, which is basically a derivative of something original with slight tweaks and nuances of other projects that have come from the Ohm forks. And so Abracadabra.money is one, which is the spell token. The Wonderland.finance is another one. All right, so Daniele Sesta, he started Abracadabra.money and Wonderland.money right here. I'll show you Wonderland.money. The DeFi Wonderland, financial tools to grow your wealth, stake and earn compounding interest and all that. And the current APY, as you can see there, is 81,941.6%. It's a little unsustainable, but people were buying into it, hook, line, and sinker. It's on the Avalanche blockchain. And it kind of uses what they call a Ponzi game, not a Ponzi scheme, because everything is on the blockchain, so everything is transparent. You can see what's going on. Everybody should be aware and know that, there is a little bit of a Ponzi element in which they do. Yeah. When interviewed, Danny Sesta was asked, so this is basically all Ponzi, right? And he's like, and he was joking. He's like, well, yeah, I guess, but when there's a lot of money at stake and all this drama ensues, it's not as funny anymore. So anyway, DeFi Wonderland, and I have put money into DeFi Wonderland, Wonderland.money and Abracadabra.money, and I started seeing it go down and go down and go down and continue to go down, and it's not enough. I mean, I'm just learning the levers and pulleys of this stuff, and it's not enough to really make me cry, but it's enough to make me kind of wince, but I'll just tell you in advance that I'm going to go ahead and keep my money in these protocols and see what's happening, and I'll tell you why here in a second. And it'll be kind of a Hail Mary for me. It's because all this stuff is super interesting to me. I'm super interested in like Ponzi schemes and stuff like that. Not that I want to participate in them, but it's just fascinating to me, like how people buy into them, why they buy into them, how they work, different ways that they work, using technology to make super complex ones and make them harder and harder to detect. So it's super interesting to me, and it's kind of a game for me. So keep that in mind as I talk about this stuff. Like, I have a special fascination towards this stuff. I'm not recommending that anybody else jump into this stuff. All right. So anyway, so there's this article, there's several articles written right here. So what happens is that this co-founder, Daniele Sesta, he founded these three protocols, but it turns out that his co-founder, 0x Sifu, and Sifu in Mandarin, I believe, but if you watch any Chinese kung fu flicks, you'll hear the name Sifu, yeah, Sifu, Sifu means teacher or master or sensei, okay. So 0x Sifu turns out to be a major felon, previous felon, a convicted felon, and he was the previously the co-founder of Quadriga Exchange, the ex largest exchange in Canada, and he was previously co-founders with Gerald Cotton, who died supposedly of Crohn's disease, but it was one of the largest exit scams in cryptocurrency, and the Quadriga exchange fell. There's been documentaries made about it. It's an extremely fascinating story. If you love crime and you love Ponzi schemes and you love all that type of stuff and documentaries about it, you're gonna love this. There's an entire podcast series called Exit Scam, and it's exitscam.show is the website, and it's a 6-part series. It's really I need to listen to this one. I haven't listened to this one yet, but I've seen some other documentaries online, yeah. So this is I believe a 6-part series. 8-part series. So I'm going to listen to this. It's a podcast series, and it's all about Daniele Sesta, not Daniele Sesta, Michael Patryn, which is 0x and Gerald Cotton and the whole Quadriga exchange. And Michael Patryn and Gerald Cotton had a falling out several months before all this stuff caved in. Michael Patryn wanted to take the Quadriga exchange public. Gerald Cotton had other things in mind, and he was doing some crazy stuff. He was running this entire exchange basically through his laptop, and he was really the only one doing anything. So I could imagine him at night sitting there doing private trades back and forth, and he ended up forming all these other identities to buy the cryptocurrency off of unwitting people that would go to the exchange, and he would give them the Quadriga bucks, because each exchange generally has their own little cryptocurrency token. And so he kept on printing all these Quadriga bucks and was buying all this Bitcoin and Ethereum and all these other tokens off these people, and he was trading anonymously as another identity against his customers. And I believe Michael Patryn might have seen some of this stuff start to happening. He wanted to go public, and Gerald Cotton didn't. They ended up arguing, having a falling out, and then several months later, Quadriga Exchange basically falls. Gerald Cotton took off to India, and supposedly he died of Crohn's disease, but they've never been able to produce a body. And it was really mysterious circumstances. He had just gotten married and transferred a bunch of stuff and assets to his wife. When they did end up figuring out the wallets of all the funds held on the exchange, they were completely emptied, and they had been emptied 6 months before, after the falling out between Patryn and Cotton. But those wallets were completely emptied. Everything just stinks of some kind of setup, fake death scam, and it's crazy. It's an amazing story. So anyway, I would go check that out. But yeah, so Michael Patryn was partnered with Gerald Cotton in this whole Quadriga exchange debacle. And then it turns out now that Michael Patryn previously had been involved in a lot of things with Liberty Reserve and several other digital cash tokens. So it wasn't his first rodeo with this whole digital currency space. He'd been doing this type of stuff even well before Bitcoin, and learning the ins and outs of all these type of ponzinomics. And Liberty Reserve was kind of a tether before tether, a stablecoin before a stablecoin, and it was a way for a lot of criminals and drug dealers and international smugglers and money launderers and stuff like that to be able to transact outside of the currency system and then bring it back into the currency system. So that's what Liberty Reserve is, and that's a whole other fascinating topic in itself. But yeah, it was based in Costa Rica. All right, pura vida, my yeah. So anyway. Yeah, Michael Patryn has had a long history of all this type of stuff. Okay, so now back to Wonderland.money and Daniele Sesta. So Daniele Sesta and Michael Patryn, who he didn't know it was, Michael Patryn was 0x, had partnered up, and they had formed Wonderland.money. Okay, and it turns out that 0x Sifu's identity was found out. Okay, so let me go to this article here. This article here is very negative towards Daniele Sesta. All right, so keep that in mind. And then there's been some other articles that have been positive towards Daniele Sesta. I don't think that Daniele Sesta is a bad dude. I think he's kind of a bro. He's a dude's dude. He's he's what he is. But I think he's just kind of like found out that this guy's identity, and he's kind of got this whole like bro code, doesn't really know what to do about it, but he's a smart dude and he's been working with him. But that's me, and that's my opinion, and like that's just like my opinion, man. So anyway, here's the extraordinary rise and fall of Wonderland and Daniele Sesta. I don't think it's quite, that's a little dramatic title, and the extraordinary rise and fall of Wonderland and Daniele Sesta. Anyway, the extraordinary rise. Daniele Sesta, named Daniele Sesta Galli, is the founder and spokesperson of the former Olympus DAO fork Wonderland Time. I began in the blockchain industry for a long time. He has expressed in several interviews when he started in Bitcoin already in 2011. Let's see. He talked about his failed project Zulu Republic as an ecosystem of digital platforms built on the Ethereum platform. Okay, all right. So there's his, I guess, LinkedIn identity. The image of a crypto wizard, Daniele Sesta positioned himself as a spokesperson and founder of not one, but 3 different blockchains, Wonderland, Popsicle Finance, and Abracadabra. This is the first major red flag. So they're saying, they give the whole instance of, running one bakery is hard enough, running 3 is nearly impossible to be fully engaged in it. So that's kind of a red flag. And then here's a meme that shows, here's my master plan, and he's got, involvement in Sushi Swap, Wonderland, Popsicle, and Abracadabra, and it kind of just makes him look dumb. So let's take a closer look. So some of his projects. Wonderland Time. All right, the time token. We'll let the project speak for itself. Each unit of time, which is the token, is backed by different reserve assets like magic internet money and liquidity tokens. This mechanism, which was copied from Ohm, ensures that time has an intrinsic value that it cannot fall below. 2 things to focus on here. Magic internet money. There's no such thing as magic, never was, never will be. All right, that's what the article writer says. Time has an intrinsic value that it cannot fall below. This is theoretically true, but not in a good way. The threshold intrinsic value of an asset from which it cannot fall any further is actually 0. So yes, time cannot fall below 0. However, things were good. While things were good, they were really good, and that's true. And I pretty much got in at the top. I'm total dumbass, whatever. It is what it is. I was excited about Web DeFi 2.0 and the whole idea of protocol-owned liquidity. I was excited about the tech, and I was like, how could this, somebody discovered a new way to do DeFi with protocol-owned liquidity, and I got super excited about it, and so did tons of people. That's why you saw all these Ohm forks jump out, and there's buzzwords, and where there's tons of buzzwords, there's going to be tons of scammers, because scammers will use those buzzwords to be able to lure in a lot of the people who are just excited about a new technology because of buzzwords. So it's like this little loop. Anyway, so time rose from $570 in September 2021 to an astonishing $9,600 just 2 months later. At its peak, Time's daily volume was over $100 million. So yeah, that's a lot. And then there's Popsicle Finance. I didn't jump into that, but it follows kind of the same pattern. And then here's Abracadabra Spell, also follows the same pattern. So Abracadabra's money is a spell book that allows users to produce magic internet money. It's just fun. A lot of this DeFi stuff is fun, and that's why I got into it. The graphics are fun. The language is fun. I mean, magic internet money in a spell book. I mean, think about it. And that's why a lot of these people are in all these protocols, because it's a fun way to do finance and community and to make some money and stuff like that. And it does make a lot of people money, but a lot of people get completely wrecked. And you have to keep that in mind when you're doing this stuff, And that's why I don't recommend this stuff to normal people. So anyway. So the spell token, starting from 0.00065 in August 2021, the price of spell went to 0.033 in November, and that's a huge jump. Look at that chart. So this is a clear pattern here. All the projects were started around the same time, and all the projects had their all-time high in the same month. This is a second red flag. If a newly started crypto project is progressing so well, why would you start another 2 projects around the same time? Isn't there enough work already? Okay, then they talk about the Frog Nation. The Frog Nation are, you know, kind of like the Link Marines, the Wall Street bet apes and degens. You know, that's all the people that are into these projects. You may have heard that Daniele Sesta is also a leader of the Frog Nation. In essence, Daniele used his public image and the short-term gains from his projects to organize a large audience similar to the likes of Reddit's Wall Street Bets, known for last year's pumping of meme stocks and referring to themselves as retards and apes. So anyway, yeah, so they're just a bunch of freaking degens, you know, kids and dudes like me and stuff like that who are having fun with all this stuff and not taking everything so seriously. But anyway, not everybody's in it for just the fun part of it. And anyway, the Wonderland.money was meant, according to Daniele Sesta, when he was talking about it, it's built on the Avalanche blockchain, which is really fast and he wanted to create an in-game currency built on a blockchain. That's really what his end goal for all this stuff was. It wasn't necessarily to run some kind of scheme like this and keep a high APY. He wanted to use the high APY to build it up, to be able to create an in-game currency to be used widely enough to be able to accommodate for the high APY at the beginning. I think that was what his whole long-term plan was for this stuff. And there's an interview with him at some point sitting here talking about this. So here's the first public red flag. So take a quick look at this video here and let's listen to him talk about it for a second. All right, so let me just fast forward.
Where does this API come from?
He said, "Where the f does this APY come from?"
Hear a little bit more about Wonderland. Obviously, it's Olympus fork from the beginning, but what is your thoughts? What's your vision of Wonderland in the future? You and I have spoken about a few different things, but I'm curious, you know, how do you see the future of Wonderland on Avalanche going forward?
Well, I think the first question I would like to respond that I'm sure some people here would like to hear. Where the fuck does this API come from?
APY.
Like everybody's like, oh, how is possible? Oh, the fuck. But it's printing, so I'm staying. You know,
is it a Ponzi?
Be real.
Is it a Ponzi?
Yeah. Well, I guess.
Depends on your perspective.
And there he is laughing about being a Ponzi, depending on your
Ponzi, right?
yeah. We all love the Ponzi.
The idea here and why the APY has sustained so high in comparison to Olympus is all based on the mechanics. It's very simple. We don't really decide how the API is going to be. The way that when you bond, which is a term I don't really like that much, but
okay, and so he's talking about the bonding mechanisms and all that stuff. I want to get to the part where he talks about it eventually being an in-game currency built on Avalanche.
I think it's nothing too complex. That's why, in a way, works. And it has been fantastic to see it in action on Avalanche because it's very cheap and simple to use. And everyone can really participate and do very quick, like collect, for example, collect your time, stake it right away, something that you can't really do on Ethereum because it's super expensive. You need to kind of time it out when you buy. That's why the size of bonds, this is an important metric. The size of bonds on Olympus, on ETH, are much larger than the bonds on Wonderland, on Avalanche. Because of this reason, you need to consider the gas fees every time you bond and you put it on staking in SOM, right? So what is the future of Wonderland? Everybody know, I don't like to copy things. Like, that's not my thing. Like, I like to make things that are new and unique. So my idea was that the concept of Olympus is a great way to distribute a token, like a mega ICO, I would say. I look at it in this way. So you actually distribute the tokens to the people that are actually the strongest hands. So the ones that believe the most in the vision, in the projects, et cetera, over a very long extended period of time. At the same time, while you are distributing, you are actually doing a real ICO in some way, because you are selling these bonds constantly, and the treasury of the DAO is becoming larger and larger. So the team tokens or the treasury tokens become the LP and all the things that you have been bonding over time. Then what is very interesting is how can we combine this way of distributing this wealth over time with utility of the base layer of the token, so the utility of time. And my opinion is that time and Wonderland should become the base currency of multiple games. The first will be an RPG that we are developing, but we should open it up for more projects to enable this new ecosystem to thrive on top of Avalanche, because it's a great chain for gaming, in my opinion. Like,
Okay, so I'm not going to go any further there. You can watch this video. I will link it in the video description. But there he is. He wants to. The end game of all this was to use that protocol own liquidity to be able to make it an in-game currency. And so yeah, I don't think that he has all these. You know, like this article just basically only highlights the part where he's talking about it. Says, yeah, I guess it's the Ponzi. But he does make a good point. While it may seem funny at the time, there was nothing in his answer worth celebrating. As a public person, Daniele Sesta was supposed to be a bit brighter, right? A Ponzi scheme is a form of fraud that lures investors and pays profits to earlier investors with funds from more recent investors. Read the definition given by SEC again. Fraud. Remember that word, for it will appear again near the end of the article. If the earlier red flags weren't enough, this one had to make a difference. Apparently not. Let's see here. Now that shows the token price down all below starting prices here. Here's where it gets dark. The main reason people are probably reading this article. So on January 27th, 2022, all hell broke loose when the true identity of Danny's partner and Wonderland's treasury manager, 0x Sifu, was revealed to be Michael Patryn, the co-founder of a notorious Canadian crypto exchange that defrauded investors of $190 million. Some sources say 160, some sources say 240 million, but it's a lot of money. And that's the whole thing with Quadriga Exchange that I was talking about. And that's Michael Patryn right there under a couple of different identities. He's been Omar Dahani. He's been Michael Patryn. And now he's 0x Sifu. So yeah, he's been Omar Patryn as well. So Michael Patryn co-founded defunct Canadian crypto exchange Quadriga CX with the late Gerald Cotton, but 3 years later took over disagreements about the company's plans to go public. The exchange collapsed in 2019 with $169 million of investor funds lost. Michael Patryn's police record speaks for itself. So here's 0x Sifu, partnered with Daniele Sesta. He served time in the U.S. for his role for an identity theft ring. He changed his name twice, from Omar Dahani to Omar Patryn and then to Michael Patryn. In the U.S., he's charged with several crimes, including conspiracy to commit credit and bank card fraud. And then Patryn confessed to numerous unrelated crimes that included burglary, grand larceny, and computer fraud in 2007. He served 18 months in prison for some of his criminal cases and was deported to Canada. So the first of 0x Sifu being identified as Michael Patryn came out by a self-proclaimed crypto detective, ZachXBT.eth, and he has a series of tweets here. And then here's point number one. This needs to be shared. 0x Sifu is the co-founder of Quadriga CX, Michael Patryn. If you're unfamiliar, that is a Canadian exchange that collapsed in 2019 after the founder, Gerald Cotton, disappeared with $169 million. I've confirmed this with Danielle over messages. So here's Zach XBT texting with, or messaging, I guess, on Telegram or Discord or something, or Twitter with it's Twitter, it looks like, with Danielle. Zach says, I came across something rather odd about that. And Danny says, about Dubai? And he says, about Sifu. And then Danny says, what about Sifu? Oh, sheet, what's up? Well, he's the Quadriga guy. And then Danny says, I cannot confirm, but I've thought about this a lot. And then Zach says, dangerous to be working with, sir. And then Zach says, yes. Okay, so here's another message thread. And Let's see here. Danny says, but yeah, is a problem in the PR at the point. Alex, my partner, told me. And Danny says, how are you going to manage this if it comes out? And they says, I don't have an answer. And then Zach says, I can count on a single hand how many people know. And then Danny says, we started this together without knowing. It's interesting, you know. I thought he was more careful. And then Zach says, I have my ways. And then here's a tweet number 2. Prior to Quadriga, Michael helped run an identity theft ring called Shadow Crew, in which he later pled guilty. While Danny insists it's fine, he puts both his reputation on the line, along with, most importantly, with all the money people have deposited in his protocols at risk. So Danny says, I don't know what to do, though. I feel he's a good man. Spent a lot of time with him recently. Do you think I should just get him slowly out? But yes, is my highest risk to my reputation. That's what my PR security manager told me. And Zach says, you're willing to put your entire reputation on the line and also at risk everyone's money? And then Danny says, no, I'm not. And then Zach says, well, that's what you're doing. So yeah, it's not that, he built this and established his trust. The guy, Michael Patryn, may have become a good person and all this stuff. And that's the problem. It's the whole idea about forgiveness and, the whole thing about, can people change, or once you a rotten egg, you're always a rotten egg. I don't know. That's not really my judgment call. I like to err on the side of being optimistic and giving people chances, and if I get burned, then it's on me. I might be disappointed, but at least I tried, rather than being a judgmental a-hole. So I think that Danny's caught in this thing, but the problem is he has a bunch of people's money on the line. Then they show proof of the wallet owner establishment. And then Danny confirmed the story to be true in a series of tweets. He says, 1, today's allegation about our team 0x Sifu will circulate. I want everyone to know that I was aware of this and decided that the past of an individual doesn't determine their future. I choose to value the time we spent together without knowing his past more than anything. And then number 2 tweet. Many people in the world are judged by their early mistakes. This comes prevalent into the life of ex-inmates that can't get access to financial services after being felons. And that is a really good point about the whole military-industrial prison complex and about people with a record not being able to do anything. Like I've gotten arrested for having a joint, and stuff like that. And I wasn't able to get a job several years ago because of the whole, a long time ago. It's like 15, 20 years ago. It was about 20 years ago where I couldn't get a job because I got arrested for having a joint in my car, So it just goes to show, like, that's just a joint. You can imagine somebody who's a prisoner, So who's a felon and stuff like that, trying to get out and do better with their lives, but then they get swept back in because their only way to be able to make it and live is to do crime again, because nobody will accept them because of their past. But anyway, point number 3 in the tweet, one of the reasons why blockchain technology and DeFi is so powerful is that no one has bias about your past. I have no bias about 0x Sifu. He's become a friend and part of my family, and if my reputation of judgment will be hit by his docs, then be it. So be it. All frogs for me are equal. That's kind of cool too. And then number 4, as I fight for him, I will fight for anyone else that has proven to be a good actor despite the past. I keep looking forward into the future rather than crystallize the past. I hope you do it too. You know what? So to me, Daniele Sesta seems like the kind of guy that I like. He's my kind of guy. He doesn't. He takes people at face value for who they are at that day, and if they end up disappointing them from that point on in the future, then that's a disappointment on it. But he doesn't judge people on their past. So I think that's pretty cool. And so anyway, this author says, now the evidence is laid out, we'll provide commentary in the situation. But let us ask one question. Are Danny's comments about fraud Ponzi still funny, like as in the video? Okay, sure. Probably not funny if you've had your money in any of the projects. On the other hand, his comments are probably hilarious if you don't. But there's one thing here that cannot be overstated. Danny knew about it. He knew about it and he decided to do nothing. If the whole case didn't surface, Danny would never acknowledge the true identity of his partner. This thing has nothing to do with Danny being a good guy and providing an ex-convict with a second chance. Michael Patryn is not some petty thief who messed up once and now needs a second chance. Michael Patryn is a professional criminal, highly skilled computer user, and likely an extremely intelligent person with zero morals. He's also extremely rich. So anyway, to summarize, if Danny didn't know about it, then he's uninformed and therefore unfit to manage a multi-million-dollar corporation. That's the author saying this. And then number 2, if Danny knew about it but decided to do nothing, then he has no morals and therefore cannot be trusted to run a multi-million-dollar corporation. So the verdict of this article and this author is saying that Danny Sesta is not fit to run these 3 protocols. Anyway, so they had DAO votes and about the fate of Wonderland.money. This is the beauty of a DAO, okay? Is, a lot of times DAO governance is probably the last thing that people actually participate in DAOs and the voting and all that stuff, even though they should. If you join a DAO, it's partly your responsibility to participate in the governance on things and to vote on things. But a lot of people don't, and prior to this, only a handful of voters are coming out on certain issues, but they ran a DAO vote to decide the fate, and 22,000 people showed up to decide the fate of Wonderland.money. That's more than I've ever seen on any DAO protocol. So over 22,000 votes were cast, representing the largest turnout in the protocol's history. The results show a slim majority that wish to continue with the Wonderland experiment. 55% said, no, we're not going to dissolve this. We're going to carry on, my wayward son. Carry on, my wayward son. If you know that song. That's an old song. But anyway, prior to the conclusion of the vote regarding dissolution, a new proposal outlining Wonderland 2.0 was posted on Medium. So the community wants to continue, the majority of it. And it turns out that the 44% that said, yes, dissolve it, were pretty much whales. So a lot of these whales were buying the token to vote on this so they could make a quick profit. So they were taking a snapshot of January 29th of Wonderland at this specific point. And then if they were to dissolve it, those whales would stand to make a healthy profit. So it turns out, and that's the amazing thing about DAOs, it turns out that the community and that the majority of those people outvoted the whales who held a lot of weight in the voting. So, yeah. So it looks similar to a corporate raid in traditional finance, in which investors buy a controlling interest in a business purely to liquidate its assets. I've never heard of that, but it sounds pretty crazy. It's Carl Icahn's asset stripping of Trans World Airlines in the 1980s is the prime example. So I'll look into that at some point. In response to these concerns, Sesta posted that no further action would be taken without consulting the community, acknowledging that communication has been sporadic, confusing, and imprecise. I did watch a video, kind of a behind-the-scenes look, and there's a lot of pressure on Daniele Sesta. Let's see where this time code is, 18. Okay, so back here it shows Daniele Sesta sitting there chatting with the community in Discord, and he's basically going off the hook. He sounds drunk. I mean, he probably had an entire of Jack Daniels in his system, and it's a lot of pressure, just like, yeah, fighting with the members of the community and stuff like that. He's Italian, so maybe it was pastis, but either way, over here, he finally, I guess the next morning, jumped back on, and he said, I wanted to say that I'm very proud to see the community fight back against Squirrel's proposal to destroy everything that we worked so hard to build. The expected payout would be $30K, and everyone who held more than for just a few days will be wrecked. I was voted out, so I find someone else's work to do his ass off to turn the price around, and we don't let all frogs get roasted so that a few whales can profit. I urge everyone to please think about this very carefully. So anyway, back to this other article over here. He basically is kind of unilaterally taking control of the DAO right now to figure out the next course of actions. At first he wanted to dissolve it, and then these whales were going to come in and take a profit and basically rug pull everybody else who had been longtime holders and everything like that. So I think they're probably going to go the way of Wonderland 2.0. I'm personally going to hold my time tokens and my abracadabra money tokens, my spell tokens, because I want to see what's going to happen. It's like a Hail Mary for me. And if this this goes down into the gutter, the valley of the shadow of death, and comes out like a phoenix rising up. It could be a really cool thing to hold, and to just be like, I don't have enough in there to like make me like break me or make me not be able to pay my bills, but it's enough that if this comes to the other side and to the light, then it should be really well, do really well. So anyway, so yeah. Despite the project's founder actively choosing to work with a convicted felon, on Monday, a vote to end Wonderland's operation and disperse treasury to investors failed to pass, a sign that either token holders still have faith in Sesta Galli's ability to turn things around, or they're reluctant to book their losses. The failed vote was controversial from the outset, and depending on the particular DAO, the outcome of votes may programmatically and automatically prompt actions on chain, altering the code for a protocol. So DAOs, depending on what kind of DAO it is, the results could automatically trigger some kind of action. This one didn't. So in Wonderland's case, the protocol's rarely invoked DAO has hosted a total of just 8 votes, and the outcome of votes are merely signals of the community's desires. So anyway, previously it's been 8 votes, but now it was 22,000 addresses voting. The vote on Monday, the vote concluded with 55% of the token weight in favor of the project carrying on, with over 22,000 addresses voting as perhaps the most active governance proposal in history. With the vast majority of individuals voting to continue the project outpacing a smaller number of whales who control large sums of tokens, voting to cease operations because they would stand to make a profit. Sesta in turn backtracked on unilaterally closing shop, writing in Discord that the team was taking time to compile suggestions and determine the best path forward. We understand that there's still the will to continue, and the community wants to make it. Unwinding for many of you means taking a loss, and you don't know what to do next. Do you believe in me and you wanted to invest in me, he wrote. He added that the protocol was looking to hire a communications team, and the DAO would be managed now by me directly in the future. That's what Daniele Sesta says. So while it might seem absurd to outsiders that the majority of voters would vote to continue, in the Discord, multiple users are expressing support for carrying the project on, either supporting Danny's vision or saying that due to their losses on time, they're in effect trapped. Kind of like me, but either way, I do kind of like Danny, man. In the absence of any law enforcement or regulatory authorities, the experiment now appears to move forward because they were worried about law enforcement and him being in partnership with 0x Sifu, aka Michael Patryn, but that's not going to happen. So looks like they're going to carry it forward. In an interview with CoinDesk, Sesta said he's not worried about whether Patryn's former involvement in the structure of the Wonderland Fund can prompt regulatory action. It should worry everyone because most DeFi is like this. He says, I can worry or I can find solutions. Again, he's pragmatic. I like that. Action oriented. At least in theory, what happens next is up to the DAO. And there are a lot of options being discussed. Prior to Patryn's reveal last week, the team for Abracadabra, an affiliated asset-backed stablecoin protocol, proposed acquiring Wonderland's treasury. Similar to the XDAI Gnosis merger or the Rari Capital and Fey merger, this would include a token swap that would allow users to exchange time for Abracadabra's spell, hypothetically allowing time holders upside in the joint venture, a key goal in the proposal. So while Abracadabra is revenue generating, its MIM stablecoin is among the most popular in DeFi. MIM briefly lost its peg last week amid all this drama, but it's back. It's back, and efforts from the protocol to bribe its way onto the Aave lending platform may now be at risk. So anyway, they go on, and basically the article ends. But I don't know, man. He just says, I need to slow down and listen to the community. Interesting stuff. Like I said, I'm holding on to my Wonderland time tokens and my spell tokens, and I'm going to let it play out and kind of Hail Mary this and see what's going on. But yeah, overall, interesting stuff. I love this type of, I'm going to listen to these podcasts, the Exit Scam podcasts. I'm linking an article about Gerald Cotton. I'll probably do an entire episode on Gerald Cotton. And, it's just, he was in Vanity Fair magazine, an entire article right here that I'll link. There's a lot of stuff. And I'll do an entire episode about Gerald Cotton and this whole scheme and the exit scam. Ponzi schemes, private yachts, and missing $250 million in crypto. The strange tale of Quadriga. So yeah, that's that. Anyway, you guys have a good day. Sorry I was late broadcasting today. It was just, it's been tough getting this episode out because of various things. The streets are frozen right now, so they can't go anywhere anyway. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you for making it to the end of this program. If you actually like this content, give a thumbs up. And if you want to hear more, just hit the subscribe button. I'm available on YouTube, Odyssey, and BitChute, and on all the major podcasting platforms in audio version. Spotify specifically. If you would like to follow and leave a review, that would help a lot. I am also available on Twitter at EurekaJohn1. That's EUREKA John, J-O, and the number 1. My DMs are always open. Shoot me a message. Thanks again.